Hello everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day today. Welcome to the Film Insight channel. For today's video, we're going to cover some more restaurants featured on Restaurant Impossible and determine if they're still open. So, sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's get right into the content, guys. Dodge City. After 3 decades of being in business, Robert Irvine pays a visit to Dodge City in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to prevent it from closing down. Both owners, Doug and Debbie Crick, are $600,000 in debt and are failing to compete with the number of restaurants open in the area. Having a Wild West theme for the longest time, the owners are way too stubborn and weary of change. Initially, the couple completely rejected making any of the necessary changes that Chef Irvine suggested to make the restaurant more modern. What was even more frustrating is that when Irvine attempted to order, he was given 5 different menus with an overwhelming amount of selection. Additionally, the customers seemed to be very perplexed with the decor and the number of items on the menu as well. Upon receiving his meal, Irvine despises the plates the food is served on and thinks it's bland, greasy, and canned, frozen, or from a packet. Following this terrible dining experience, the Restaurant Impossible host demands that the owners cut down the menu. However, being stubborn and indecisive as always, Doug and Debbie struggle to decide on which items to remove. Slimming down the menu, picking key meals from all 5 lists, they were able to put together one solid menu. In order to modernize the restaurant and make it more competitive, Chef Irvine and his team completely revamped the restaurant. Starting up with lightening up the walls, he replaced the floors, added a new divider, and took down most of the tacky decor. Wanting to give the business a fresh new start, they also changed the name slightly to Dodge City Steakhouse. Later revealing the makeover to the frustrating owners, they were pleasantly surprised and came to love the changes. So much so that Doug falls to the ground in shock, which was certainly not the reaction everyone expected. Finally relaunching, the patrons seemed to be ecstatic with the new bright and appealing decor, as well as the new theme. While the kitchen felt a lot of pressure with a full restaurant, they were generally able to manage and the customers were satisfied. Fast forward to a few months later, the restaurant is thriving with mostly positive reviews on Yelp and TripAdvisor. Admittedly, it wasn't all good, with some complaining about how the restaurant was only partially renovated. Thankfully, the owners seemed to listen to the constructive criticism they received and completed the makeover, which is very admirable. Keeping Robert's shortened menu with some slight tweaks, things have been very good for Dodge City. Rocking a solid 4-star review on Yelp across 216 unique reviews, Irvine was nothing but impressed when he revisited 5 years later. La Stanza. Visiting a restaurant called La Stanza in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Robert Irvine attempts to save the business from failure. Owned by John Tripodi, he decided to purchase the restaurant since he believed it would be easier than the construction trade. However, this Italian restaurant is stuck far in the past, making it very unappealing to new customers. 2 years before the episode aired, John passed La Stanza off to his 24-year-old daughter Lucia, who pushed her college career out the window in order to run the restaurant. The father and daughter duo have absolutely no restaurant experience, and what's worse, they had a recent scandal with the underage sale of alcohol. When Irvine finally arrives, he notices that there's a huge problem with the food, since everything except for their sauce was poor in quality. What's more, the decor is extremely unappealing and they barely promote the restaurant, resulting in it being practically invisible. Discovering that their chef is cutting corners when it comes to ingredients, Irvine is not surprised that the food tastes bad. Meeting with a professional designer, they decide to split the large, overwhelming dining room into 2 separate areas. Removing all the clutter and ripping down the curtains, Irvine and his team were ready to start renovating. But before this, Irvine quizzes Lucia about the reasoning for her menu's pricing, and she displays a lack of knowledge for the cost of ingredients necessary and what the prices should really be at. Terribly disappointed, Irvine decides on creating a new menu with well thought out dishes and teaches the kitchen how to prepare an Italian tapas menu. Come time to the business's repaint, the Restaurant Impossible host runs into a very problematic predicament. Their porous ceiling is not allowing the paint to set well, leaving behind a dark color underneath. Forced to call in reinforcements due to the project taking way longer than expected, Irvine and his team put their all into this rescue. Later, Irvine reveals that with the help of a local television station, he was going to get a feature on the restaurant. Before officially relaunching, the famous chef teaches Lucia how to run a restaurant, properly price her menu items, and better manage her staff. Upon La Stanza's relaunch, the beautifully updated dining room filled up with customers who fell in love with the new menu. Thanks to Irvine's efforts, the restaurant's chefs seemingly regained their passion for cooking, and the kitchen was finally running smoothly. In the following months after Chef Irvine left, the reviews on Yelp and TripAdvisor were mostly good. For some odd reason, the owner decided that it would be a good idea to revert the changes made. Lucia decided to keep only one of the many dishes Irvine added to their menu, re-adding most of the items they originally had. If it isn't obvious already, this was an extremely poor decision to make, which turned Irvine's work into a waste of time. Closing in November of 2014, La Stanza was taken over by new owners who renamed it to Asian Palace Restaurant. While the outcome of this rescue was disappointing, what could you expect out of a 24-year-old with no experience? Sweet Tea. 9-month-old Southern-style restaurant Sweet Tea was visited by Robert Irvine in a Season 2 episode. Owned by Christine and Jeffrey Spencer, they have no experience and are only getting by with Christine's father's savings. Through some discussion, it's revealed that the restaurant has only been declining and that they're losing $10,000 a month. Firstly, Chef Irvine expresses that it would be best to change the restaurant's theme to that of a sports bar. Next, to gauge the food quality, the famous chef orders a collection of dishes from the menu and some sweet tea in spirit of the restaurant's name. Speaking with some regulars in the meantime, they explain that the table and cutlery are normally dirty, that the service quality is poor, and that the food is definitely frozen. Irvine believes that the clam chowder they serve has frozen clams, the sandwich tastes good but has too much costly prawns, the chicken is old, and the campero is too salty. Going to inspect the kitchen, he finds canned soup, green beans, and pre-prepared mashed potatoes. Additionally, Irvine puts a thermometer in the macaroni and cheese and discovers that it isn't stored at the correct temperature and is not okay to serve. Meeting with the designer, they decide on hiding the kitchen from the view of customers, removing the sports memorabilia, and brightening up the interior. To prepare the staff for his new menu, Irvine teaches them how to make easy southern dishes like a tasty burger, pork chops, and delicious waffles. Challenging the staff to a friendly sweet tea making competition, none of what is made is deemed worthy of being served. Heading to a local clubhouse, they try to get some buzz around the restaurant by promoting their new meatloaf and sweet tea. Finally, when the restaurant relaunched, Sweet Tea was packed with people, some even lining up to get in. Loving the new decor and impressed with the improved menu, the customers vowed to make their return. Following the rescue, the reviews were quite mixed, with most of the negative comments being about the food and service quality. Even though they slightly improved on their sweet tea, the business ended up closing down in the fall of 2011. County Fair. Former US Marine and owner/chef Eric Green sunk his life savings into purchasing the county fair. While he was met with some success in the beginning, he now faces a $520,000 debt, has never taken a paycheck, and is surviving on his pension and his wife Liz's wages. Close to having the power being shut off on them, Eric calls out to Chef Irvine for some much needed help. Upon his arrival, he's met with a horrible smell, food stored next to cleaning products, and bacon sitting on a hot sink unit. Noticing that the decor is bland and that the customers are unsatisfied with the food, he's already unimpressed. Wanting to sample the food for himself, he finds their biscuits to be rock hard, the bologna to be uncooked, and their breakfast in a cup to be too salty. Admittedly, Eric feels like he lost his sense of taste and smell during his service in Kuwait, which explains the terrible food. Further inspecting the kitchen, Irvine finds grease caked on the equipment, enough to violate the fire code, and thinks that the kitchen's layout was poorly thought out. Meeting with the designer, they discuss giving the restaurant a possible American diner theme to bring in more customers. Teaching the staff how to make simple dishes like apple pie that would fit with the restaurant's new theme, Cynthia comes out and says that she's lost all motivation. To put some spark back into County Fair, Chef Irvine tries to introduce a pie eating competition that would also promote the restaurant. Working until the last minute on redecorating, the owners are shocked and pleased with the new decor. Upon the restaurant's relaunch, everything went generally smoothly and the customers were in love with the changes made. However, despite the fact that their sales slightly increased, they were completely unable to deal with their crippling debt and closed down for good in 2012. Well, that'll be all for today's video here on the channel. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to drop a massive like down below and comment your thoughts. Subscribe for more content like this and turn on those sweet bell notifications for instant access to our content. Have a good one, guys.